He identified himself as a vagabond, and his life was cut all too short. I'm the Classical Nerd, and today we're talking about Ernest Farrar. Farrar was born in London in 1885, but his family moved to Yorkshire when he was 2 years old. His father was a member of the clergy. He learned the organ and attended the same grammar school as fellow composer John Ireland. In 1905, Farrar got himself into the Royal College of Music, where he studied both organ and composition, and a circle of friends was nicknamed the Beloved Vagabonds and included fellow composer Frank Bridge. Farrar loved the idea of being separate and being a vagabond, which was something entirely different from his clergyman father and now clergyman brother. On occasion, instead of identifying himself by name in his scores, the only indication of composer is simply the word vagabond, and arguably his masterpiece are the Vagabond songs for baritone and orchestra. During his time at the Royal College of Music, he started a relationship with the violinist and musicologist Marion Scott, who was 6 years his senior. Upon graduation, he was an organist in several churches, by all accounts behaved really horribly in that role, and he searched around for ways to supplement his income, eventually deciding on giving composition lessons, most notably to Gerald Finzi. Farrar was quite productive as a composer and wrote all sorts of music, mostly inspired by his outdoorsy, wanderlust-filled nature. Ralph Vaughan Williams sent Farrar a letter congratulating him on his new organist gig, but said that the job was beastly, and he warned Farrar to be careful lest it lower his moral tone. This unfortunately came to fruition when he got engaged to a lady named Olive Mason without telling Marion Scott, who assumed that they were still a thing, and Scott found out at a concert, and understandably she never contacted Farrar again. Farrar enlisted in the Grenadier Guards in 1915, and was commissioned as an officer in 1918, only to be killed that same year, 2 days after arriving at the front lines. He was 33 years old. Frank Bridge, a pacifist shocked to his core by the carnage of the war, went on a hiatus from composition, only to return with a monumental piano sonata dedicated to the memory of his friend Farrar. His old composition professor Charles Villiers Stanford said that Farrar had been a loyal and devoted student, and that he lamented his loss. But Stanford didn't just talk the talk, he actually walked the walk, and he did his part in promoting Farrar's pieces up until his own death, when interest in Farrar's music severely waned. Compared to other musicians lost during World War I, such as George Butterworth, Farrar is not nearly as known, primarily because his circle of friends did not include the true musical giants of the era. Farrar's parents set up a scholarship in his name with the Royal College of Music, and Gerald Finzi stepped up and took an active role in preserving his teacher's legacy as best he could. Farrar's productivity, and the fact that many of his pieces saw publication during his lifetime, meant that musicologists have had an easier time rediscovering him as compared to other composers of the era, although some important pieces still remain lost. But like every musician cut down in World War I, we can only imagine what music would have been like had that bloody conflict never occurred.